Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, I want to welcome everyone to the Community Force Grants Awarding Your Applicants webinar. And of course, today we have with us myself. I'm the trainer here with Community Force. And then we also we have on the line Daniel Ayala. He's our sales manager, so he will be assisting me with any questions that you may have throughout the program. And then also during the webinar, we will be breaking midway through for a question and answer section where you can ask questions regarding the topics that are being covered. And if you have questions, go ahead and enter those questions in the question dialog box. You should see over on the right-hand corner of your screen somewhere when you first logged into the webinar. You should maybe, if you don't see this dialog box that's similar to what you see here on the screen, you can click this orange arrow and it'll open up that box for you. And so I'll give you a minute to go ahead and find that. But once you find that, you'll find a listing of different items at the bottom of that dialog box. And you'll see a box or a line that says questions. If it has the negative symbol next to it, it should be opened. And that's where it says enter a question. That's where we'll type in your question and then hit the send button. And then that question will appear. And then when we get to that mid-break, we'll go ahead and address any of those questions you may have. And then also, if you are experiencing any difficulty through any part of this seminar, then go ahead and there's a little hand symbol you should see also in this box. And you can click that hand box. And then Daniel is also assisting and he will see your hand being raised and will try to assist you. So if you are having any difficulties connecting or anything like that, feel free to raise that hand and Daniel can help you. Okay, so the things that we're going to be covering today during our seminar will be, first of all, the individuals that will be benefiting from this webinar will be those that are your administrative staff that's responsible for awarding your applicants. So we're going to be covering that awarding aspect and notifying the applicants in the awarding process. So we'll be covering how to award them and then also how to do the notification, how you can send emails to your applicants. And then also what we're going to be covering is there's different ways in the system that you can award. There's the Manage Awards, where you are awarding per funding source. And then there's the Batch Awards, so that's awarding per application. So we're going to discuss what the differences are between those two areas. And then also the award acceptance sections. So if you have sections that were built into your application form, then those sections, we will show you how to activate those for the applicants to complete to be able to accept an award, or you may even have like mid or quarter reports that you need your applicants to complete. So we'll show you how to activate those as well. And so let's go ahead and get to the site and go ahead and get started with our webinar here. So we'll open up the site. And then to access the awarding function from your home dashboard, you will select the evaluations icon here on your dashboard. If you do not have this evaluations icon on your dashboard, you will want to contact your global administrator and they will be able to assist you. And so you'll select this evaluations icon. And then once you open up the evaluations icon, you'll see a listing of your active applications. So you'll want to select the application that you're wanting to award on. So we're going to select our application, and this will take you to that evaluations dashboard. So from this evaluations dashboard for your application form, you're going to want to select the Evaluate Applicants icon. And the Evaluate Applicants icon is where you no doubt, if you are doing tasks in the system, that's where you are reviewing those tasks to be completed, and then also reviewing the results of those tasks. So the first item here, as we discussed at the beginning, there are two different icons. We have Manage Awards and batch awards. So manage awards allows you to award per funding source. And this should be used to award if you have multiple funding sources to award, but you only have that one application form that you use to apply to. So let's say you have one application form, but in that application form you've set up multiple funding sources, like you might have interest areas that you need to track funding on, and so each interest area has a different funding source. And so when you created your application process, you created separate funding sources, and then you wanted to be able to determine what applicants matched to those funding sources depending on the interest area that they chose. And so that system is matching them to those specific funding sources. And so to be able to see who matched to those funding sources, you would use the Manage Awards. Now, if you just have the one funding source and the entire application, you don't need to separate out by funding sources, you would then use the Batch Awards, because that gives you all the applicants that applied to your application form on a form basis, and then all the results for those applicants, those score results for the applicants. So the first item we're going to go into is this Manage Awards, so you can kind of see the different functionalities between the two. So to access the Manage Awards, we're going to click this icon here, Manage Awards icon, and the dashboard that opens up looks just like this one here. And so when you first come here, you're going to see these are the funding sources that were set up, and these funding sources are set up in that grants setup. You would have your application form, and then you would have individual funding sources that would be linked in the Manage Funds when you were setting up that original application. So what I mean here, in order for these funding sources to appear here, I'm going to bounce out here a little bit, when you set up the original application form, you would have set up your funding sources in the Manage Grants. So when I click on my Manage Grants, you're going to see I have multiple funding sources. Some of them are linked directly to application forms, some of them are not. And then in my application, when the application form was set up, when I created my application form, I took those funding sources that were in that grant setup, and in the Manage Application Funds, I added those specific funding sources to my application. I selected the wrong application here. Let me go back one. So in this Manage Applications Funds, on my original application, I said, these are the funding sources from my organization that I'm going to be funding, and I need to know what applicants matched to these funding sources so that when I'm doing my awarding, I can say, okay, for my education grants, the applicants that applied to this application form, those applicants are for education grants only. The same with environmental and health. So I had an interest area question in my application form that is matching them to the specific funding sources. So I tied those funding sources to my application form. And then in the Manage Funds criteria on this same application setup, I established what the criteria was, what matched applicants according to the question in this application. What was the criteria that made them eligible to be able to get my art grants? And so we created that eligibility criteria to match them to that. And so now when I'm in my awarding, the system is only going to give me the listing of applicants that meet that criteria. And so that's why you use the Manage Awards to manage this group of grants. So let's go back home and let's go back to that awarding feature. So we're going to go into the evaluations again and go back to that Manage Grants screen. And then back into the Evaluate Applicants, and then into the Manage Awards. And then we'll discuss the functionality of this. So you can see here it's giving me all the names of the grants that we just showed you that were linked directly to this application form. And it's going to give me the grant name. So you can see I have my education, my environment, my general funding, and then my health, and then my actual application form. So the total amount allocated is the amount that I created when I first set up the funding source in that award amount for the fiscal year that this application is for. I had to have a fiscal year. I had to manage my awards and put it the same fiscal year and the amount I have allocated for that fiscal year. The total amount awarded is the total amount awarded across all application forms. So if my Community Force Arts grants funding source had multiple applications that were applicants could apply for that specific grant, they could have a total amount awarded from another application. If an application was tied directly to this that was different from this one, I might have two applications that comes from that funding source. So this total amount awarded is across all applications that this funding source is linked to. And then the same with the amount unallocated. And then total number of applicants awarded is across all applications. Number of students awarded in this application, I don't know why that says students, that should say applicants because this is a grant site. But that's showing within this specific application form, what is the number of applicants that have been awarded in just this application. This is all applications. This is just the specific application I'm currently looking at. And then the number of matching applicants is the number of matching applicants in this application form. So let's go ahead and click in on one of these funding sources. And we'll select, let's go ahead and select the arts. We have two applicants that match to that. So when we click on the actual grant name, this is going to give us the listing of applicants that match to that funding source. Now remember, it's looking at that criteria. So however these two applicants answered that key criteria that I had originally set up, the system is matching these applicants to this. So here you'll see the organization name, the applicant, the key individual that logged in for that organization and their email, profile ID if you have that activated. That's usually for external integration. If we're integrating with an external site like Blackbot or something like that, whatever the ID is for that applicant on your local system. The current status that the applicant is in the system. Their status detail. So remember, if you're using status details, those status details are user-defined details. And then if we scroll over here, total amount awarded. So if this applicant had received awards already, that would show here. And then the total score and the average score. And then if you're using automated score, it shows the automated score as well. Now, one thing it's important to remember when you are looking at this total score, if you had multiple review tasks activated and you were doing multiple reviewing tasks, like let's say you had different tasks for different funding sources, this total score is showing you the total score that this applicant, this organization is scored on across all of your tasks. So what's nice about the Manage Awards screen is you can actually filter by a review task by coming up here where it says Filter by Review Task, and you can click on the drop-down listing and it'll show you all of the tasks that this application form has active on it. So when I say active, this would show you all of the tasks that you currently have turned on in the task setup, meaning the ones that all have that display on review reports checkbox selected. If that box is not selected, they will not show in this drop-down list. So if you want to see all of them, then you're going to want to make sure that you go and activate them and put display on review reports so that they show here on this screen. So if you want to just see, like this one here, this is my Community Force Arts grants. So I only want to see these specific applicants, how they were scored on this Art and Culture Committee review. So if I select that, then this will give me what their score was just for that. So this is the total score, and then the average score, which is across all the reviewers on that specific one. And then you can see here that the automated score is always kind of a separate score, and that's based off of that automated scoring setup, if you've set up automated scores based on scores on questions within the application form that the system is looking at. If they answered a question a certain way, like in my illustration I have, if they were a 501c3, they got an extra 10 points for being a 501c3. So when they answered that question, then the automated score was automatic, and that'll show here on the screen as well. You don't have to do that automated score report when you're on the screen. You can actually see it here. So then some of the items over here on to the left-hand side, we have our the applicant score. So the applicant score, when you click on the applicant score, this is going to allow you to see all the tasks that the applicant was scored on. So if I click on this specific item, you're going to see he was scored on all these different tasks here. And so then if I go back, you're going to see the award applicant column. So we'll get to that in a minute because that's where we actually go in and award the applicants. The matching awards. So if this applicant matched to other awards, this is going to show me any additional funding sources within this application form that the applicant may be eligible for that they're matched to. So if I click on that, it's going to open up a listing of other funding sources that this applicant is eligible for. And if I click the trail back here. So then, and then we also have this award questions column. So the award question column, what's nice about this is when you're creating your application form, in the build of the actual questions themselves, there is an item that says show on award reports. If you say yes to show on award reports, then when you come here to this screen and you click on this button here, what it will do is on any of the questions that you said to show on the awards report, it will give you those questions in the application form, and it'll show you how the applicant answered those questions. So when you're here, if you created those questions and you put show on awards report in that question setup, they'll show here and you can see how the applicant answered it. And so if there's like a tiebreaker or something, you can come here, you can kind of determine what their grant amount was, what's their project budget. If those questions are in the application form, then you can have them show up here. And there's no limit as to how many can show on this screen. So that's kind of a nice feature so that you can kind of determine, from this screen without having to click out and look at their application form, how they answer specific applications, or questions, I should say, in the application form. So then to award your applicant, so if you're ready to award using the Manage Awards, what the next step you would do is come here and click the Award Applicant button. So you're going to click this Award Applicant, and when you click this, if the applicant had received any awards, they would show here on this screen here. And then to add, so you can see what they've received on the site. And then you can click this Add Award. So if I want to give this applicant the award for this specific area that I'm looking at, and you notice here it also shows those same questions. Here I can see what their grant requested amount was, the project budget here. And then I can click to Add Award, or I can click this applicant score to go to the score and see their scores as well if I wanted to see them here again. So if I click the Add Award, the following dialog box will open. And in this dialog box, I would select the award that I want to give them. So what's nice about this screen is if I know I'm going to give this applicant multiple awards, I can award them this one, do my awarding, and then save it, and then do it again, stay on this applicant, and award them again. So that's kind of a nice functionality. You don't have to go all the way out and come back in. So here on the awarded fund, I select the fund I want to award. And then the amount allocated is the amount in this funding source I have available at this moment to award to this applicant. So you'll notice here we have two fields, an initial award and a final award. And the initial award and final award, and this is the same when we get to the batch awards, you'll see these two columns, initial award and final award. Now, the initial award is used for if you do not want applicants to see that they've been awarded prior to notifying them of the award. you'll want to enter the amount in the initial award field and not the final award, because in the final award, once the final award is populated, the applicant's status moves to selected for an award. That's an automatic feature. So as soon as that happens, the applicant can't see, they don't see that status in their dashboard, but what they do see is there's two buttons that appear on their dashboard. One's called Award Accepted, Award Declined. And so if you don't want those buttons to show up in their dashboard, because they may see those, they may click on them, they may not know what to do if they log in. So you would do the initial award first, do all your awarding, and then after you've notified them, come back and do the final award and add the monetary amount to the final award. But if you're okay with that, then you can go ahead and enter the amount in the final award. You don't have to populate both these. This is just a enter the amount so that you can do the awarding and then come back after you've notified them and enter it in the final award, and then it'll move them to selected for an award automatically. So in my illustration, I'm going to go ahead and enter that amount. Now, one thing too you're going to want to know is when you enter an amount in the initial award, the allocated amount on that funding source will not change. The system will not consider it awarded funds from this funding source until you enter it in the final award. So if I was just to enter, an amount here, so I can see, okay, this individual, this organization needs 5,000, and then clicked save, my allocation amount for this funding source is not going to change. However, if I put a figure in the final award field and click save, then the allocated amount will be adjusted. And then this comment field is just for you to enter any comments about that specific awarding. If this is a renewable award, then you can select yes. If it's not renewable, then you would just select no. If you select yes, then it opens up the fields to be able to put the start date and then the end date of that renewal, how many years it's renewable, and then the next date it's to be renewable on. But if it's not renewable, then you just select no, and then you go ahead and click the save at the bottom. And then once you click the save, it'll show here in this column here, and the listing, it'll show that award now as being an award that I've given to this applicant. Now, if I need to edit this award, I always can just come back here to the screen and I can click on the actual name of the funding source to open up that box. Or I can click on this little edit icon here, and that'll open it up. And I can make my changes. Or if I realize I don't want to give them this award, I can go ahead and hit this little trash can here, and that will delete the award. So like this one here, if I determined this one, since I just gave them 5,000 here, I don't want to award them this one. I'm going to leave that for my next applicant in line for that. So I can go ahead and delete this one here, remove that award completely, and so it'll no longer show here. Okay. So that is it for the Manage Awards. So I'm going to stop here before we go to the Batch Awards and just see if we have any questions real quick. I'm just going to take a minute or two to just kind of browse through those questions. And then if we do have any questions, I'll try to answer as many as possible here. If I can get my dialog box to open up here. Okay, so someone has a question, what's the difference between renewable and non-renewable? So a renewable award means that at the end of each year, that award, they're awarded, they don't have to reapply, they automatically get that same amount the next year. They don't have to keep coming in and getting that award. And the grantees don't necessarily see that. It's just when that award is awarded, they know it's a renewable award. Okay. So that looks like that's the only question I have on a Manage Award. So let's go ahead and go to the Batch Awards function so you can kind of see the difference between the two. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go all the way back to that dashboard. So I'm going to click the Manage Awards and then go back to the Evaluate Applicants dashboard. So we're just on this Evaluate Applicants dashboard. And I'm going to go ahead and select the Batch Awards here. Okay, so you can kind of see a little bit of a difference here in the batch awards. So the batch awards, you can see it's not breaking it out by individual funding source. I just have one allocated amount for my entire application form. This is the one funding source that's directly linked to this application form. And then this is the amount that I have allocated for that funding source in just this application form. And then you can see here when I scroll down, it's already giving me the applicants that have applied to this application form. If I want to search for a specific applicant, I can search by here by entering either the first name, the last name, the organization name, or the email of the individual that logged in for that organization. And if I have integration, I can also search on that profile ID. You also can come here and filter by specific statuses. So if you wanted to only have applicants that are a certain status, like maybe under committee review, then you can come here and filter and get just those applicants that are under committee review. Or if I want to see all my applicants, I can just go back and enter all. And you'll see here that. And then you'll also notice this in the applicant here, this is the one that we just awarded in the Manage Awards. To see how their status is now selected for an award. Okay, so here you have the functionality to select an applicant, and you can get their PDF. You can get that admin PDF or that reviewer PDF, so you can get those PDFs just like as if you were in that applicant status report. You also can export this report to Excel, and you also can notify applicants from this screen by selecting their name and then clicking the Notify button. And it's just like in the applicant status, then it opens up whoever you selected, and then you can create your email template and send it to them using this screen. And then in this screen, when you are ready, let me just go ahead and just kind of give you the breakdown of some of the columns that are here. So we have, of course, the organization, we have the applicant name, we have their email, their profile ID, and then we have total score. Now notice here, you don't have the ability to filter by task. So this total score is per task. So if you have 3 tasks and you're looking at your applicants and you only need to see a score for 1 task, then when you're viewing here in the batch awards, that's where it's important. Now it's back to where you now have to turn off the tasks that you do not want to see the score for, and then only have the task on. And again, that's that show on review reports. You only want the task turned on with the checkbox that you want to see the total score for here, the total and average. So it's going to be totaling and averaging across all tasks that are currently turned on. So if you only want to see the 1 task and the 1 score for that task, you need to make sure those other tasks are turned off, just like we discussed in the training that we did on viewing the review results, turning those off and on. And then also on the screen, you also get to see the automated score. This requested column and this budget column, if when the application form was created, there's specific XML that needs to be created on those items that you want to be the requested column and the budget column in this report. So when those questions are created, then that's something you work with implementation, that when those questions are created, you want to make sure that the XML name matches the name needed for this requested and this budget info. And it has to be the correct section XML and the question XML for these 2 items to be linked. And then of course here you see we have an initial award column and a final award. Same functionality as in the Manage Awards. Initial award is just so it doesn't mark them selected for an award. And then final award is once you do put an amount in final award, their status will change to whatever the current status is to selected for an award. And then comments, if you enter any comments, those comments will show here in that comment column. And then of course we have the status details if you're using them. And then if it was a renewable and you did enter that information, then that information would show here as well. And then the same with these items here. If you want those to be populated with data, some people use them, some of them don't, so they don't get populated unless you request it. And so then these items would be directly linked to questions in your application form. So that show on award screen question item when you're creating questions doesn't show on the batch awards. The show on award screen toggle in a question is only for manage awards. Okay, so then when you are ready to award in the batch awards, there's a nice little button here called edit mode. So notice this little button here. So when I click on this button, it's going to open up some fields. So you can see here, it now opens up those award fields. And then something over here, the applicant score, that just takes you to their scorecard and lets you see how they scored. And then application details will take you to their application form. So once we click the edit mode, these fields open, all of them that have the little boxes that we can populate. And it's just a matter of entering the amount. So like here, this is what they requested. If I determine I want to go ahead and award this individual here, then I could use the initial award field and just enter my monetary amount there. And then when I do that, nothing will happen. And I'm going to go ahead for this illustration because I want to show you a nice little feature that's on this screen that's not on the Manage Awards. So I can put my figure in here on Initial Awards, and I can go through and I can start doing this for all my applicants. I can enter comments as I wish. The status is still under committee review. If I'm using status details, I can go ahead and, if I want to, select my status detail at this point that I want to move them to, and it'll put them to that. So if I wanted to maybe put final award so that I knew all these that are final initial award, I'm ready to move them to final award. And then if it's renewable, I do yes or no. And renewables are mainly for scholarships if you have a renewable scholarship, and so that's why it makes more meaning. But there are some grants clients that may use this. Very few do, but renewables is if it's going to be renewing and you need to keep track of who's going to get this award from year to year, then you would want to select that. So then, once we're done doing our awarding on the screen, and this is per screen, so as you do each screen, you're going to want to save each screen and then do the next screen. So if you have multiple pages, is what I mean. If you have multiple pages, if you do a select all, and you're only awarding on this page, you're going to want to save this page and then go to another page and then save that one. Or you might be better off doing a display all and then getting everyone, and then that way you don't have to go page by page by page. But I always find it's better to do each page and then save and then go and do the next page, click on the edit mode, do the next page, and then save that one. So let's go ahead and click save on what I just did here. And you can see on this screen, since I put a figure in the initial award, it does show the initial award and then unallocated. In the Manage Awards, it doesn't affect that figure, but in the Batch Awards, it will give you the initial award figure, which is nice. So let's say I've done my initial award, I've went through, I've sent my notification, I clicked on my applicants, I sent them the notification email using this notify button, or I can do it in the applicant status. Either way, you can notify them. I've sent them the email, they've been notified, they've eligible for the award. So now I'm ready to now say, okay, I'm ready to do my final award. So what's nice is there's this little feature called Update Final Award that you can select to update them automatically. And so how that works is you would want to select the applicants. You can do the select all for page that you want to have the initial award. So what it's going to do is everything that's in the initial award column, it's going to automatically move from initial award to final award. So if I select them and then hit this button, it's going to do that. Or I can hit, if I don't, like let's say I have an applicant and their initial award was $2,500, but then we determined, no, we're only going to give them $2,000 now. They came back and said, no, I don't need the $2,500, I only need $2,000. So you want to change that. Then you can use the edit mode again, go in and add the final award that way. But this is just quite kind of a quick functionality where you can select them all and then click the Update Final Award button. And it's going to give you a message that I'm about to copy what's in the initial award field into the final award field. I'm going to say OK and continue. And then you'll see now what was in the initial award is now in the final award. And right now you're going to notice the status is not under committee review yet. And so what you have to do is after you do that, there's one last step because it's assuming you're on the screen, you've moved it, but you may have others. So then you go to the edit mode. This is one next step you have to do for it to change the status. Open up the edit mode and then just click Save. And then once you do that, you'll see it now shows selected for an award for that status. Okay, so that is how you award in the batch awards. So is there any questions at this point before we go any further? Because the next thing I'm going to show you is you've awarded your applicants. So then how do you use those sections in your application form? How do those work with your applicants? So let's see here. Let me look at my applicant here. Okay. So once your applicant in your section, so let's go to the build of the sections first so you can kind of see how they're built. And remember I said as soon as an applicant gets to a specific status, which is like selected for an award, then those buttons, the accept award and declined award, will appear on their dashboard. So if I go to the create application forms, and select my application form. Find it here. There it is. And I go to the sections and questions because I want to look at that section. I want to see how it's built. And right now I have 3 different sections built in my specific application. I have an award agreement section. And this is my section that I want my applicants to get once I've awarded them. I want them to get this section. And in this section, you'll see when I click on it, this is kind of the section that's built. So if I preview it, it kind of shows them questions that they can answer in regards to the funding sources that they've received. If they have documents, it just allows me to create a section to capture additional information in regards to the award, like do they still need this amount, that sort of thing. If there's any attachments after they've been awarded, there may be some attachments I want to get from them. And then also, I was looking for it. I see that it's built, but I don't. Okay, so this awarded grant here, and this right now says no grants awarded, but there's an actual question you can build on your specific section, and it's called a award question. It's a question type, and if you use that question type, it's awarded grant. You can see down here, this is awarded grant. It's awarded grant question type, and if I create a question with that question type, when the applicant is awarded, it will populate the grant that they received and the amount that they received. And so this is kind of just a section, just an illustrative section for an award section. It would be, and you just create it like you would normally, and this is just to capture additional information for that applicant. And it's just like creating a section. You have questions, you can do essay boxes, you can do whatever you want in that section and call it whatever you would like as well. So since this is an acceptance section, when I built this section, let's go to the edit where that section was built so you can see some of the key items. You will see that the section type, I said acceptance. And then here for status, this is the most important crucial element here, this status. Because what this is saying is when an applicant, and this is all applicants on an application form, so every applicant, when all applicants are set to a status of selected for an award, so as soon as they are put at selected for an award or even award accepted. You can choose multiple. I want this section to appear on that applicant's dashboard. So as soon as my applicant has been selected for an award, which we just did, the applicant is going to see this section in their dashboard as soon as I activate it. It's not activated yet. There's a couple more items I need to set up here. So as soon as they hit that status, they're going to see this section. They're going to log into their application. They're going to open up that dashboard and they're going to see the icon that I've created for it. And then the section, they can click on it and answer those questions and complete that section. So also this section, I can set a deadline. Of course, I don't want it to be inherit from application because at this stage, my application's deadline is passed. So I'm going to create a section deadline and I'm going to give it a deadline date of maybe 30 days. So I'm going to give them the deadline that they need to complete this by, that they need to get this completed by. And I'm calling this my award acceptance section. So you'll notice in my instructions here, I'm telling them, because I want them to click these buttons, because if they don't click the buttons, I don't know that the section's been completed. So it says, please be sure to click the accept or decline award buttons on your dashboard to accept or decline this award. So that's a key element I want to build into that so that they know they need to click those buttons. And then the deadline date, I want to adjust that to the deadline that this single section is actually due. And then the same here, the show submit button, I can leave that to no, or I can put it to yes, but I usually put it to no because I want them to go and hit these buttons here. And then lock after submit means after they've completed this section and they go out, I want them to be able to not go back in and make changes. So I can put lock after submit yes. And then my deadline date, make sure that's correct, and then save and exit. And now I have that acceptance section available to activate. And so once I've notified them, then all I need to do here is come here, put a little check mark in here, click save, and now it is all ready to go. Anybody that's selected for an award is going to see this on their dashboard. So let me see if I can log out real quick here. Let me home, get the exact name of that test applicant. Then we'll log in and see if I can show you those buttons that I'm talking about and make it a little bit easier for you to see what we're saying here. I might have to move somebody just temporarily here. Okay, so let me log in as this applicant and show you. Hopefully I can find the right application form. Okay, so then this applicant, they're going to go into My Applications. They're going to locate that application form. Hopefully I This has multiple submissions on it, so hopefully I get the correct one. Okay, so here you can see this is that award agreement section that I activated. And then here you're going to see these decline and accept buttons. So those are the two buttons that I'm talking about. So as soon as they become selected for an award, you can see their status still shows submitted. But what happens is these two little buttons just mysteriously start appearing as soon as they're selected for an award, where they can decline or accept the award. So then, of course, the applicant, they can click on the award agreement. And then if they did receive an award, it would show them the awarded grants, that's that award question, and then the amounts they were awarded from that. Okay. Go back. And then, of course, I'm the applicant, so then I would want to click the decline. If I determined I don't want to receive this award, I can hit declined, and then what's going to happen is on your end, the status is going to say declined, and if I say accept, then what's going to happen is then the status is going to say accept. And then it's telling me that I can't click that until I've completed that section. So it won't even let me select this until this section has been completed. So that's how the applicant sees it, just so you can see how that works. So let me log back out and go back in as the admin. Okay, and let's see, go back to those create application forms. And then, of course, with the grants, I know a lot of you have mid-reporting and annual reporting that you do. So it's kind of the same kind of process you would do with those. And it's just a matter of creating those individual sections. So you can see here I have a grant evaluation annual section. And then this one here, approved extensions request. So if they wanted to maybe I wanted to extend their program and give them an extension on their grant, I have a section here I can do that. So these are just this grant evaluation annual. It's the same process for a mid-report as it would be an annual report. And so what you would do, you would just, of course, create that section just like you would a normal section, just like this award agreement section was created. So in the edit. And so then this is where you got to kind of think of by the time they get to this section, what's happened to them. So if you were using those award sections and then they were clicking that award accepted decline button, if you had that in your process, then on the status here, you would want to make sure that, okay, selected for an award and award accepted would be the specific status I want to select for this. Or it may just be award accepted. Say I want them to have clicked that button before they got this. So I can select both of these, or I can select just one. So I'm going to say at award accepted, I want the applicants to see this on their dashboard. And then, of course, again, the deadline, you're going to want to, if this is a mid-report, you're going to think of, okay, when is this mid-report due? So you're going to adjust the deadline to fit that mid-report's deadline. And then you've created that section. So this is the most crucial part, is the status. You got to think of where is the applicant in this stage? What has happened up to this point? If I didn't do that award accepted section, then they're just going to be at selected for an award. So I'm, of course, just going to use this selected for an award status. So that's the important thing, is you got to think of all of my applicants that I want to get this section. What is their current status at this time? And so you got to select that status so that they get it. So if I didn't use the award accepted section and it's just selected for an award, then I can do this. I can click save and exit. And then this section I've got built, I've got it ready, I've got my deadline dates ready to go. But let's say I don't want to, everyone's selected for an award, I just awarded everybody, I've got this section built, but I don't want them to see this section in their dashboard till 6 months from now. So all I have to do is, it's all set up, ready to go. 6 months from now, as the admin, all I have to do is come here, put a selection in this box, and click Save to activate the section. Once it's activated, it'll show in their dashboard. If it's not activated, it won't be in their dashboard, but once it's activated, that's the trigger that makes it show on their dashboard. Okay, so the two triggers are the status and the activation. So if they're at a status, but you're still not ready for them to have it, but you've got the section, you don't want to have to wait to build the section, then all you have to do is build it. And then when you're ready for it to be active to those individuals, come here and activate it. So that's how you do those additional sections. That's how you open them up for your applicants. And then all they have to do then is once it's activated, go in and complete that section if they're at that specific status. So that's it on that building of the sections. Now there are some additional reports that I can show you, but before I go on, is there any questions? Does anybody have any questions that they need assistance with? I'll just kind of stop here because it doesn't look like we have too many questions. Let's see here. See if I can get this to open up a little bit. There we go. Okay, now somebody's also asking about how do you handle signatures? On those sections, if it's the applicant that's to sign off on maybe an agreed award or something like that, you can just add an electronic signature question to that. And then that would capture their signature. And then the previously recorded webinars, if you would like to have some of the previously recorded webinars, actually on the registration email that you received for this email, for this specific webinar, there were the links to those specific webinars where you can go to. Or if you would like to have copies of those pre-recorded webinars, then feel free to email me. I'm at Christine, CHRISTINES, at communityforce.com, and we can go ahead and get a link sent out to you for those additional webinars. Okay, so we don't have any further questions. So let me just show you another couple of quick reports that we have on the system. So if I go home, and these are if you have multiple application forms and you want to look at multiple application forms, you can go into this icon on your home dashboard called Batch Awards, and it kind of has a few additional awards that you, reports that you can kind of look at. This applicant status, this is kind of nice because this is the applicant status. It's the same as the applicant status on an individual application form, but it actually lets you look at multiple you can select different application forms while you're on the screen. You don't have to click out, go to the evaluations, find that application form, and do the next one. This one you can just click here and just open up this application form and see the applicant status for that one. Click another application form, see the applicant status for that one, and you're all from this one page. You can do that. And then also there's this Go to Manage Awards, which if you're in an application form and you click on it, it will take you to the Manage Awards screen for that specific application form. If you click on that button, it just takes you to that Manage Awards section. Also on the report screen, the Batch Awards, there's this little Batch Awards capability here. And this is just if you have multiple applications. Again, it's the same as Batch Awards before, but you can come here and select a different application, do the awarding, then do another application, do the awarding. So that's the nice functionality of this one. It's the same as the Batch Awards, but it allows you to select more than one application form in this section here. Then we also have this Award Applicants report. And so this allows you to view the awarding based on your funding sources. So this isn't per application. This is if you have multiple funding sources and you have awarding coming out of different funding sources, you can come here, select your funding sources, and then you can see who's received awards from that funding source. This isn't application based, this is funding source based. So if you want to see how they were awarded out of the funding source. And then the overlap report. It's a nice little feature. It kind of just shows you, okay, well, it's not going to let me show you. But what that does, the overlap report, it allows you to see awarding by a listing of applicants. So you can select to see a listing of applicants that have received multiple grants, one or more grants. So if I select one, yeah, it's not gonna, something's not going on with my site. And it'll let you see if they've received more than one grant by applicant is what that is for. So that's it for our award training for today. One thing I do want to show you here, let's see if it lets me pull this up here, is let's close that. And that, get some things out of my way here. Is we do have the attachment for the guide, the Manage Awards Guide. So it should be right underneath the questions section. You'll see a section that says handouts. And you'll see a handout. It says Module 13. It should be look just like this with the little icon and then the blue. And you can click on that and open it up. And when you open it up, please download it to your local computer. You can open it and then save it to your local computer so you have it for future reference. And so all the items that we covered today will be available in that module guide. And then also if you do need further assistance, like if you're trying to do your awarding and you do run into a snag of some kind, feel free to ask for assistance by entering a support ticket through your Zendesk support account. And then all of you should have on your dashboards, you should have that help icon that, let me show you here. Let me go back to the screen here. By clicking help down here in the right-hand corner, some of you will have it in the lower right-hand section in this navigation. Some of you may still have it up here. If you're not on the newest version, you'll have a help up here. When you click on that, that will take you to Zendesk where you can log in with your Zendesk account. And with your Zendesk account, you can enter a support ticket. So again, feel free to download that module. And then also this webinar we will have available if you would like to have a copy of this webinar. We will be sending this out to everyone that registered for the event will receive a copy of the webinar link. We will email that to you automatically. Usually within the next week you should receive that, so watch your emails for that. So of course our next training session is going to be held on, I believe, May 17th. So be sure to mark your calendars on that and watch your emails for information in regards to that session. So that ends our session for today, and I appreciate all of your attendance, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day and a rest of the week, and that's it for now. And I'll go ahead and leave this open for a little while so that you have time to access that module guide for a while. I'll go ahead and leave that open. Okay, so since I don't see that we have any further questions, that's it for the day. Thank you.